welcome to Coffee Hour. It's a Thursday, February 13th. We are almost to the end of the week. And thanks for joining me, taking the time out of your day to spend your morning with me to get it started here in Coffee Hour. It's been a great week. We got some snow here in Virginia, so I guess that's okay. It's getting ready to rain, so again, it's going to pretty much wash the snow away. So I don't know where you're at. I'm supposed to get up in the 50s here today in Virginia. So that is good news. Although if you're like me and you have nothing but a yard full of mud, it's not good for having to deal with dogs. And we have 3 little mountain feist that love to get in the mud. So it's going to be one of those weeks. I can see it already. Thanks for joining, folks. Do me a favor, as always, if first time you've ever come to the stream, thanks for joining us. We don't just talk code here. We talk about all types of things. And so if you've got something going on you want to talk about, put it in the comments. But as always, let me know who you are, where you're from, if you're a fast track student. And as always, as you see right up here, to get in on the spin, add the hashtag WIN. That's exactly how you want to do it. Hashtag WIN. That will get you in for the spin. And we give away some stuff immediately. Some stuff you'll be in a drawing that we're going to do in March, at the end of March. And so make sure you get into that. Hey, it's just a perk. We know you come here to see me. I know this. I get it. But really, okay, whatever. But in for the lesson. But it's always nice to get something, get in the wheel, kind of get you involved a little bit in that. So again, if this is your first time, we appreciate you coming. And do me a favor, let your neighbor know, let somebody know, let somebody at the office know what you do in the mornings here at 8 a.m. Eastern Time for joining us in Coffee Hour. We appreciate you being here. All right, let's see here. Let me look over at my screen. As y'all know, I got multiple screens going on. So here I'm talking to you, but I might be looking at my 6 foot of screen here, different things I got going on. For example, we want to give some shout outs this morning for letting me know. Say, Adam, good morning, everybody. I hope all is well. Hope you're well, Adam. And thanks for joining us. Charlie, with his new baby, yelling out good morning to everybody. Nifo, there you go. Fellow Sparkies, good morning, everybody. Paul Montoya, say hello to my little friend. There you go, his crew down in Houston. And Paul is showing everybody what it's like to do hashtag WIN. There you go. Paul is in the spin. We see here, Eric, good morning. Thanks for joining us as well this morning. We've got Michael Yarborough, good morning. Round Rock, Texas, right down the road from where I used to be in McKinney, Texas. And Rob's over on Fast Track's Tube, and he's shouting out the hashtag WIN. Thank you again. Let's see here. Christopher's in the house. There you go. A little early. I wish it was Friday. Maybe it's Friday for you. Might be Friday for you. Oh, Friday Junior. Maybe it's talking about the movie Friday. There you go. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for being here. Dan. Good morning, Dan. Thanks for joining us this morning. Glad to have you here. We are going to feed the hog. So Adam says, bring on the knowledge today. We're going to feed the hog. Oh, by the way, for those that are just popping in, we are in day 3 of our dwelling unit series. First day we did how to do the square footage and the laundry and small appliance and how to apply demand factors. We already did that, so make sure you go back and watch part 1 of this series. Yesterday, we talked about appliances. We got deep into appliances, and I believe we also picked up the dryer, which was fairly easy in our dwelling that we're building here during this lesson. So that was pretty straightforward. Today, we're going to be talking about the cooking appliances, okay? Digging a little deeper, and we're also going to be digging into the Fast Tracks material as well to kind of look at some, ranges and cooking appliances, kind of give you a full rounded view today of how we apply it. Not just our example that we've been working on, but we're also going to kind of look at some other examples, that type of thing. Let's see here. Mike. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for joining us. And Rob says it is snowy out in Iowa. Yuck. That's what we got. I'm glad. I hope it's done. D Fitness. Dwayne, I saw you over on TikTok too. Also, by the way, folks, we are streaming over on TikTok, the behind the scenes show for those that are interested in doing that. Okay. And Charlie out the gate, always out the gate with questions. Where do you find info on smoke and CO and heat detectors? Well, all of that stuff is going to be feed the hog. So typically the National Electrical Code has something on fire alarms, right? But it doesn't necessarily give the information for smoke alarms, like for dwelling smoke alarms. You would get those out of the, I think it's the IRC, and I can't remember if it's section 307. We can feed that into the hog and see what it says. That'd be an interesting feed. But also it's NFPA 72. That's where you're going to get your information for that. Okay. So typically in all bedrooms, and then in smoke CO or carbon monoxide detectors, when you have fossil fuels in the dwelling, it's pretty much going to be covered by the International Residential Code. That'd make a great use for why we would tell people to get the hog, because that's the kind of questions that you can get. So, we will definitely see if we can't feed the hog on that. But yeah, you're not going to find placement and things like that in the National Electrical Code because it's purely the NEC, that type of thing. But companion documents, NFPA 72, it's going to be okay. Residential IRC or National Residential Code. And my mind is just don't remember if it's section 307 or 314 of the IRC. I don't know. I don't spend a whole lot of time in the IRC, that type of thing. Smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors are kind of one of those things that once you know where they go, you know they go in every bedroom, and then they go immediately adjacent. So, and in most of the standards say not more than 10 feet from the entry into the bedrooms or whatever immediately adjacent or in the vicinity works. And sometimes we have to follow those. Well, let's see here. Good morning, Red Dog in the house. Gotta do some Red Dog theme music. Let's see here. David, good morning from Culpeper, snowy Culpeper, right up the street. Was shoveling his driveway. Yes, I did not. Mine's gravel, so I just left it. But you watched the replay. Cool. That's why we run those replays. Usually the replays, unless I miss something, usually the replays are the same day at 5 o'clock. But we run replays of shows all the time, so that annoys some people when they come and they see the live thing and they realize it's a recording. But unfortunately, I can't change that. I have no way of changing that. It'd be nice if EV Mux the software that we use would give an option not to make it say live when it's not actually live. But I don't have a lot of control over that, sadly. What's up, Joey? Thanks for joining us. Tyler's in the house. Thanks for joining me, Tyler. Let's see here. Everybody's rolling out those wins. That's what I'm talking about. And Joey's joining us from California. Dwayne said he moved to Orlando from Prosper. Do you really miss it? We moved here to Virginia. Obviously, y'all know I moved here for my wife and family health reasons. And we moved the whole corporation here. Still own a house in Texas, but what I miss, I don't miss the fact that I was in McKinney area, and it was very suburby. It was away from Dallas. There's very little crime. But I'm reading in the news that the crime is moving its way up into the suburbs because they realize that's where the money is. And so, again, I don't miss that. I don't miss the rat race on 380. I do miss the warm weather compared to it's been cold, but it's all about a sacrifice, right? All about a sacrifice. Tino's in the house. Says, what up to the peeps? Okay. Cryptic's up in there. Ooh, he's telling me that it is a -7. Wow. That's not good. Not good. Too cold for me. One of my wife's choices when I worked for NEMA is I could work anywhere in the country. But I had to be in the southern states when I was the NEMA expert and the field rep. And that's why, Virginia worked fine. When Encore Wire came a call and wanted me to relocate, we moved out to Texas, pretty much a lateral move. As long as it was in the South, we were okay. We would never, ever be okay with moving somewhere north where it's cold, really gets really cold. Now, 20s and 30s bad enough, but minus degrees, no, thank you. Not interested. What's up, Frank? Southern California, it's rainy. Keep that rain out there. We're already a mud pit here on the East Coast, so keep that outdoors, man. Good morning. Thanks for coming again. Everybody hit that hashtag win. Charlie says food for the hog. Absolutely. We're gonna put that one in there and see what happens. Good morning. Finally made it to a live from out in Houston. You got some people out there. Got quite a few people out of Houston. Good morning, John. Thanks for joining us from Georgia. It looks like a new face. Appreciate you being here. Jonathan, good morning from Tennessee, up in the hills of Tennessee. Beto's in the house, going for hashtag win, wants to get in on the spin. Alberto's in there on the spin. Tyler says it's cold in Texas. Just had a new roof put on my house in Texas, so hopefully that'll help it sell a little freaking better, maybe. Trying to sell it. Good morning. Greetings from North Carolina. Okay. So again, folks, keep your comments coming in. We appreciate it. Again, this is all about getting you started, getting your coffee going. And if you're over on TikTok, come on over. We've got a seat for you. Over here, you can go to Fast Track's Tube and watch it from there if you want. We'll keep the seat warm for you. Okay. Cryptic says, I'm trying to get out of here. Not fun wiring ACs. I do wiring HVAC equipment. Okay, we'll get out there, but you can always keep us in the background. You can always just listen in. Just don't watch it while you're driving. But we appreciate you coming. But remember, always, folks, you can catch these shows on a replay. Okay. All right. Real quickly, let's go on and let's do feed that interesting question to the hog real quickly. If you're not familiar with the hog, let me show you what it is. So here's the hog. This is our subscription platform. It's called Trade Hog, and it is pretty much putting an expert in your pocket. So I'm interested. We want to paste this in, but I got to make sure I get rid of your name, Charlie, because that won't help the search any. Let's see here. Let's see. We're going to change it a little bit because, again, crap in, crap out. Smoke alarms and CO2 detectors and heat detectors. Okay, we'll ask it that kind of question. Give it a little more broadness. Remember, again, it's all about the question and see what it says. See what the hog brings back. Okay. All right. The hog says information about smoke alarms, carbon monoxide, CO2 detectors, and heat detectors refer to NFPA 72, the fire alarm and signaling code. This code provides comprehensive requirements for the installation, performance, and maintenance of the fire alarm system. Smoke alarms. So here's NFPA 72. And it talks about heat detectors. There you go. Garages with EV chargers, while 72 provides general guidance on heat detectors. Specific requirements for garages, especially those for EV chargers, may be influenced by local building codes and safety regulations. That is such a true point. Let's see. Now, I'm going to feed the hog even more. I'm going to ask it for, do you have anything in terms of code references? And what about the IRC? For dwellings. Okay, so I'm feeding it and see what she has to say. He has to say, I shouldn't say. Boy, I just offended Chief Hog. Called it a she. It's okay. We're moving away from those he, she things, right? It's just man or woman. That's what I'm talking about. That's all I'm talking about. Okay. All right. So remember, it's all about what you put in. So here it is 72, which is accurate. 72 is going to mirror a lot of the stuff that is going to be in the IRC, but I know again, you got to remember one thing about having a product like this is that you do know a lot of things. So you can feed a lot of your knowledge into the hog as well, and it's going to just dig deeper. Okay, so for smoke alarms, 72, carbon monoxide, 72, heat detectors, again, while not required in residential settings, okay, you can use them in there, such as garages and kitchens if you want. Here's the IRC. So smoke alarms, it says section R 314 for the IRC outlines the requirements for smoke alarms in 1 and 2 family dwellings. And again, mandates them in the sleeping rooms, outside each sleeping room, and on each additional story. Okay, so that's how I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with it, whereas I have it in each sleeping area, then one on each floor, and the one is outside of the sleeping area. Now, here's the neat thing about the hog. That is all true information. But one thing we can do with the hog is go, can you explain IRC section R314 in more detail? All right, so if I feed the hog again, oh, and it had more information on 72. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Oh, I didn't push it, so here we go. Gotta click the button for it to work, by the way. Good morning, SETI. Thanks for joining us. Everybody getting in with the hashtag win. We're just looking at Charlie, the troublemaker, has brought a question up already, so we want to make sure we just look it up. All right. So look at this. So this is why this is so important. And this is why I think this is a game changer. I did not have this when I was in the field in a trade, but look what it did. I used it to go down here, and here it says inside sleeping rooms must be installed in each sleeping room. Outside, it must be installed outside each separate sleeping area in the immediate vicinity of the bedrooms, one on each floor. Okay. Interconnected. It also went into that they need to be interconnected in the dwelling. That's why we interconnect them with a 14.3 typically. So yeah, installation. And again, it reminds us of 72, but also you know that the manufacturer's instructions are extremely important. And those manufacturer's instructions with those smoke alarms, which I know y'all toss in the trash, actually has placements information on them as well. I know that y'all most people throw those things away, but they do have placement things. So again, just want to say about the hog, totally amazing resource, the hog. So again, hopefully people get involved in that. We have added to the wheel of goodness. We have added to the wheel a chance to be in a drawing for a free annual subscription for the hog. So that's something to make sure you do that hashtag win so you can have a chance to get in on that spin. Okay, let's see here. Red Dog says, Paul, does the same working clearance in 110.26 apply for low voltage metal sideways? I am not sure what you mean by sideways. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by that one. So I'm not sure what sideways. You have working clearance. So the working clearance, when you say low voltage, just keep in mind that 2,000 volts or less is low voltage. Okay, so you have the clearance in front, you have your height, and you have the width, which is 30 inches, or the width of equipment, whichever is greater. Okay, so that's that type of clearance. Okay, that type of thing. So that's the working clearance. Now, when you talk about working clearance, and we can go look at it real quickly, is when you're talking about working clearance, right? Space electric equipment, it says working space and access to and egress from working space shall be provided to maintain about all electrical equipment to pertain ready and safe operation and maintenance of such equipment. Okay. All right. And then, of course, open equipment doors, which could very much apply to switch gears, things like that, shall not impede the access or egress from, means opening the doors can inhibit me being able to get out of the access openings that are required to be at least 24 inches wide by 6.5 feet high. Now, you're talking working space, okay? All right, so this is working space about all electrical equipment, and then it digs down into the deeper, okay? It says working space for electric equipment operating at 1,000 volts nominal or less to ground and likely to require examination, adjustment, servicing, maintenance while energized shall comply with the dimensions here, okay? So then you go down, and so you're talking about the depth. Okay, so the depth of the working space in the direction of the parts shall not be less. So this is the direction of the parts, Red Dog. So this is from the interior out, okay? That type of scenario. You typically are not going to need working clearance in a wireway, okay? Because typically that's wires in there. Once they're put in, you really don't need to work in while they're energized in there, that type of thing. Swartzy's in the house. I didn't notice that Mr. Swartz is in the house, okay? But anyway, you have other permissions down here, existing buildings, and then of course here's the width of the working space, okay? Again, this is in front of the electrical equipment, that type of thing, right? And then here's your height requirement. So I guess one of the questions you're asking, Red, is if you just have a simple wireway, do I have to have the working clearances and everything on the wireway? Now, typically not on a wireway. That type of thing. Switchboard, switch gears, things like that where you'll be working in it, things like that, clearances, panels with the panel boards, things like that you would. You're not required to have any of that type of stuff in a wireway. The thought is you're putting the conductors in there and they won't need to be examined and things like that, whereas otherwise you can cut the power off and be able to work on it. Okay, again, not to mention that each jurisdiction may be a little different, but it's very hard for me to put a wireway above a piece of equipment up high and be able to qualify working clearances. No different than for a switch on your countertop. If it's used as a disconnect, there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be trying to get any working clearances on that because the counter is right in front of it. Okay, so we want to pretty much leave this one is more towards switch gear, switchboards, electrical equipment, transformer opening access, all that type of stuff. That's typically what we're trying to do with that. I wouldn't expect to think that I could even achieve any real clearances with a wireway, that type of thing. Okay. CTT here. Let's see here. Outdoorsman, manufacturers still require auxiliary grounding electrodes by the machinery. What do you think? What's their potential difference from lightning strikes? Okay, so what they're stating in their manual is typically what they have is they're allowing you to have an auxiliary gutter. And usually if it's on a piece of machinery, it's to dissipate static current or static voltage or static off the machine. And so it's okay if to have additional ones like that. They aren't typically your, they're not to take the place of using it. For example, if it just goes to the side of the machinery, then it's no harm, no foul. But at no point do we connect it to the point where we're going to be treating it as an electrode for the building. That would be a problem, right, to that scenario. But nothing prohibits me from doing that. And we can actually go look at that in the code. Let me turn this off real quick. All right, so if we go look at that and we kind of go down into, hold on here, go down into 250. All right, and we're getting down here into, hold on here, auxiliary. Okay, so here you see auxiliary grounding electrodes, right? And that's pretty much what they're doing. So it says one or more grounding electrodes shall be permitted to be connected to the equipment grounding conductor specified in 250.118 and shall not be required to comply with the bonding requirements of 250. That means it doesn't have to be connected with the grounding electrode system. Or 250.53c, okay, this one here, having bonding jumpers tying anything together, okay, or the resistance requirements, okay? So that means that it doesn't have to meet 25 ohms or less. It's specifically for that piece of equipment, okay? It says, but the earth shall not be used in an effective ground fault current path, yada, yada, yada. So you have some extra commentary here. It's always great to read the extra commentary if you have link. Not everybody has link, but if you do have link, that says grounding electrodes such as ground rods that are connected to equipment are not permitted to be used in lieu of the EGC. So that's what it said. It can't be in lieu of it. You're installing it there because the manufacturer wants it, maybe for static discharge or whatever. It says, but grounding electrodes may be used to establish a reference to ground in an area of electrically operated equipment. The earth may not be used as an EGC or effective ground fault current path. Auxiliary grounding electrodes are not required to be incorporated into the grounding electrode system for the service or other source. Okay, so if the manufacturer wants them, then they want them for some reason. And chances are it's probably just like the engineers who want ground rods for light poles in a parking lot. They have no earthly idea why they want them. They just want them for some reason. You get what I'm saying? Years ago, it was the Generac, for example, wanted to require ground rods for all their generators. The problem with that is the generator wasn't separately derived, then you were creating a hazard by doing that. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so there you go. Let's see what's up. We got some shout outs here. Ray, good morning. Welcome. Eric O'Neill, again. Eric, congratulations again. Hopefully you got my email. It bounced back. Oh, by the way, folks, if you send something to support@fasttracksystem.com and we reply and you say you don't get it, it's because the MSN types of servers we have problems with. They're blocking our ISP. So I don't know why, but all of those that happen to go through MSN, Hotmail and all that, we have problems. It seemed to bounce. So usually we'll send it back from our info@Electrical Code Academy, that type of thing. Okay, so that's for you, Eric. Congratulations. Let's see here. James talks about potential. Well, you know what? To be honest with you, the only time you really have to be worried too much about that is if you have your piece of equipment, and I don't know that you get that close to anything that's going to give you any potential that's going to cause any real issues. I don't. Usually this is isolated, driven out by the equipment. It's what the manufacturer wants. It's in earth, so if it's in earth, the step potential, it's kind of hard for you to get far away. In other words, to get different step potential, especially if they're driving a rod in that associated area where the equipment is. Anything else, you know, we talk about step potential a lot, but in reality, it's like with the swimming pools, right? Where we put this equipotential bonding grid and it's 3 feet out. If you're stepping out further than 3 feet, then you might get a difference of potential. Then you know what? If you're Shaquille O'Neal, maybe. But normal people, it's not going to be that. It's not going to be as big an issue as it's made out to be. What's up, David Dueno? Welcome. Thanks for coming. #win. Speaking of which, speaking of the #win, let's go on and give something away. Let's go to the contest real quick. You see that wheel has changed, and it's a lot harder for you to read. There's a lot more stuff on that wheel. Okay, so make sure you've hit #win, that you can get in on the spin, and we will do that right now. See who gets to spin the wheel first. We haven't done our lesson yet today because it's about ranges, so it's not going to be really long. Plus, if I go over an hour, who gives a damn, right? It's my show. All right, so hold on. All right, let's see if you can hit that wheel. Let's see. I don't see Suplex in here today. Where's James at? Okay, Jay. Come here, Jay. I got to get to my big list here. I have to start transferring my list onto something else. I got a massive list here of people. All right, I'm going to have to give this to Darlene and get her to change this. All right, Jay. We're going to spin the wheel, Jay, and see what you get today. Let's go. No whammy. No whammy. Should I add a section to the wheel that wins nothing so that we can play the whammy if somebody gets it? You think that'd be cool? All right, Jay, you are in the drawing for an NEC Enhanced Exam Prep. That is a $375 value that you can possibly win on March 31st. Don't worry, we'll have a show with all the winners on it so that you can watch it. It'll be titled The Winners, so you can watch it on repeat, and it'll be short, but it'll have a scrolling list of everybody that's won certain things to make sure you get what you know, if you were drawn. So let me see here. Let me make sure I get that down for you, Jay. All right. #win gets you in. Let's do this again. Let's see who we've got. Let's do it again. I love giving stuff away, or at least getting people in a drawing so we can have a drawing, give stuff away. Why not? Nobody else is giving stuff away. I'm going to add more stuff each week until those spaces are teeny weeny. That means you got more options. Sanaga. Eric, you've won before. Let's see here. And I think I had problems with your name every time. So let's see, Eric, what you can get on the spin. Let's go. And then we'll get to today's lesson. And if you want to test the hog, we'll test the hog even more. Oh, thank you to everybody that's been subscribing to the hog. It's been amazing. First week of Trade Hog, and already I think we have over 100 subscribers. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Y'all are seeing value in the Trade Hog. And it's going to get smarter and smarter, and we're going to add more stuff to it as it goes. So appreciate it. Okay, bidding software, a course. All right, so this course, Eric, is a very detailed course on bidding, and it's by one of the best estimators that I know. And let me tell you what, dude, it's just Steve over there at Best Bid Hybrid. Steve Griffin he writes books on the subject. So it is something that every electrician should learn, and understanding estimating and bidding and man hours and how to break that down and all. Great course, $500 value. You're in the drawing for that on March 31st. So let me write that down. All right, so let's get into today's lesson real quick because I got to get into some lessons. All right, so here we are. So up to this point, guys, what we have discussed is we've already covered this part in part 1, okay? And so we did the 3 VA per square foot. We took out the floor area, which is 70 square feet, because again, that's what it says to do in the NEC. Okay, take out that. You will notice in the 2023 that garage space is included in your square footage, where in the 2020 it is not. So that's a change for people that weren't familiar. We went over the small appliance brand circuits, how to do it. We went over the laundry. If you missed this, it's in episode 1, Coffee Hour, episode 1. So make sure you go back and watch that. It's constantly on replay, so you will catch it. One time or another, you will catch it. Then we went over the appliances, talked about appliances, how to incorporate things like an EV charger. It just gets added to the load. It doesn't get in the list of appliances where you can apply demand factor. Again, we're doing the standard method for those that are watching, and we're always using the 2023 because we're always on the latest edition of the NEC, always the latest edition. But I mean, it may change a little bit for your edition, but again, it's going to be pretty close, okay? So one of the big changes here is it added to the list that EVSE was not to be considered an appliance when you're looking to apply that 75% when you have 4 or more appliances. EVSEs are not included, so you just take the full value and add it. And we showed you that the full value of that would be 7,200 VA or the nameplate, whichever is larger. And we covered that in the previous episode. Okay, I think that was episode 2. All right, so, and we covered dryers and all that. So we covered all that about appliances, and then we covered clothes dryers, and we talked about where this, in the standard method, 5,000 VA or KW is the KVA, 5.5 KVA or 5.5 KW, which again is synonymous with 5,500 watts or 5,500 VA. Y'all know I like VA because that helps for the math. So get us to VA as quickly as you can, I like to say. And we did that. And remember that the standard method in 220.54 says that you use 5,000 or the nameplate, whichever is greater. So if you had a calculation that was 4,500, then you're going to be using a default 5,000 for your standard. Okay. Now, for those that have never been here before, you're going to say, Paul, why the hell are you talking about the standard method? I got to remind you that on exams, they generally default to the standard method. So if you're an exam taker, or you're in that mode to take an exam, you got to learn the standard method. Also, when you're sizing the neutral, you have to do it based on the standard, right? Because the requirements for sizing the neutral are in part 3. They're not in part 4. So you have to understand how to do the standard method in order to be able to also size a neutral. Now, you could shortcut it as many engineers do. They'll just say, just size a neutral the same size as young grounded conductors and let it roll. Okay, you could do that. But a lot of your pre-bought SE cables, for example, the neutral is already sized smaller. In many cases, 2 sizes smaller. So you get SE aluminum 4/0, say for 200 amp, okay? Then what happens is the neutral is typically 2/0 aluminum. It's usually can't be more than 2 sizes smaller. But that's already made for you. So it already considers the fact that you've got diversity going on when you're sizing that neutral conductor, right? So it already, manufacturers of the SE cable already take care of that for you, right? So not going to be the same if you have harmonics, if you have a 4-wire 3-phase system with majority of harmonic loads, like electronic ballasts and lighting in a big building, things like that. But when it comes to dwellings, you're going to have a neutral probably 100% of the time. And so that's why that neutral is typically smaller. But it is in part 3. So you got to know how to do the standard method. In the real world, you're not going to do the standard method. In the real world, you're going to be doing what? You're going to be always using the optional method, which we will cover on another series here at Coffee Hour, because we're here for the long haul. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, what do we got here? Hold on here. What's up, James? Welcome. James says, I had an apprentice in one of my classes tell me about your channel about a week ago. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Kudos to that apprentice. Let's give that apprentice a little bit of glory here. Absolutely. No truer statement has been said. Adam said, never hurts to learn both ways. Absolutely. A well-rounded electrician will understand the standard method and the optional method. And life is too short to stop learning. We learn something new every freaking day. Okay? Every freaking day. All right, so that's where we're at. We're kind of caught up to where we're at. Okay, so let's get to our cooking. Okay, so, real quick, let's look. So here is on our list. So what is our cooking in this fictitious house that we're building here? Okay, so our builder is giving us and says, okay, we have a counter-mounted cooking unit, a cooktop, and it is 7 kW. Okay, thank you, Mr. Builder. You shared that with us, or whoever, homeowner. And the next thing we have is a wall-mounted oven. So we have a cooktop, and then the oven is separate. Okay, it's actually in the wall. Okay, so we have a cooktop 7 kW and a wall-mounted oven 6 kW. That's what we're working on in this lesson. Okay, all right. All right, so here we go. Okay, so as you see on the screen, I'm going to read it from the screen, and I'll paraphrase where necessary, and we'll go look at the code as well. And then I got, we'll go look at a little bit of the fast tracks in material. So some of you students will be familiar with that. It kind of gives us some more information on ranges and things like that. Okay, so because what we don't have right now is a range, right? I mean, what we really have right now is a cooktop and an oven. Together can make up a range, but right now they're separate. So household cooking appliances, ranges, wall-mounted ovens, counter-mounted cooking units, etc., are not required in a load calculation. That is something that people don't know. You are not required to put in your load calculation cooking if you don't have cooking. If it's gas, then, typically the gas receptacle for the igniter, the code allows that to come off of the small appliance branch circuit if it's just the igniter circuit. Did you know that? So you could have, in the real world, you may not have to add any load for cooking. I don't know if you knew that, okay? Said he has to ask. Said he has to ask. Have to ask. Wago or wire nut? The old debate, okay? Well, in this scenario I accept either because they're both listed products. And I don't think there's anything wrong with a Wago if you use it right and properly. Same as a wire nut. You can use the wrong wire nut, put too many conductors on the wire nut, and it go bad. Wagos, everything that's evaluated, whether people out there hate them or love them, fact of the matter is, for me as an electrician, I remove all liability because I'm using a listed product. As long as I'm using a listed product, I don't let my personal feelings get in the way. So I have no problem with a Wago. I have no problem with wire nut. In fact, I'm insane. Wire nut is actually a trademark from Ideal. So again, don't get me sued today, SETI. Just saying. All right, answering that debate. That's my opinion on that, and that's the bottom line because Stone Paul said so. All right, so what we've got here is not required to have cooking, but if you do, you have to account for it. And our house does, so we have to account for it. So it says, if there are no cooking appliances rated over 1 3/4 kW, then no need to add anything to the calculation. However, ours we do. We have a 7 kW cooktop and a 6 kW wall-mounted oven. Now, individual household cooking appliances rated more, than 1 3/4 kW or 1,750 watts, which is the same as 1 3/4, by the way. And you can divide the 3 into the 4 of the 1 3/4, and that's what will get you the values you need. to add it to the 1. But anyway, that's VA. Okay, so 1,750 VA. So individual appliance configured more than that get to use table 220.55. Now, if you have a cooking appliance that is less than 1,750 watts, what do you think you got to do with it? What have we talked about before? If it's a cooking appliance, okay, and it is less than 1 3/4, it doesn't mean you throw it away, right? It doesn't mean you don't add it to your calc. You most certainly have to account for it. I think that's the biggest misconception that I get from people is they say, well, I have a cooking appliance and it happens to be less than 1 3/4 kW. And I'm like, and it's a dedicated piece of equipment. And I'm sitting there going, well, you still have to account for it. It's still a load. It's in the dwelling. You just don't get to apply the demand factors of 220.55, right? You get what I'm saying? Okay. So that's something that's kind of one of those things where I'm gonna have to add some sound effects. Hey, did I tell y'all I got a whole database now of hundreds and hundreds of sound effects? I need to add one that's like blow your mind. It's like or whatnot like that. But that's just little things that people sometimes say they don't know. Okay. So anyway, back to where we were. All right. Let's see here. Where was I at? Okay. So in our case, we are definitely over 1 3/4, right? So that's something that we have to do. Okay. So we have to add it to the equation. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Real quick, let's go back about. Okay, so answer this question that somebody just put on the screen. Rob asked a question. I guess we'll go back and see this. We covered this the other day, but a clothes dryer is not a requirement for loads. If there is no electric clothes dryer, still got to have the laundry circuit. Totally different. The 20 amp requirements, 210.11, right? But if you do not have to add a dryer if there isn't one. Okay, ours has one, so we had to. But if you didn't have one, and it was gas, and then you could skip the dryer. You would not have to add. Boy, you would make your load calculation so easy, Rob. If you didn't have cooking, you had gas. Everything's gas. Now, here's the big difference. And I explain this to people. This is why we do this in the morning, because of these questions. If I put in, and I'm roughing, they're doing gas, but I put the receptacle in for a dryer, or I put the receptacle in, say 8,000 VA minimum, let's say for the range, and I put that receptacle in, even though it's gas, but I put it, then I have put permanent provisions in there for cooking. I have put permanent provisions in there for clothes dryer. Then I have to use these values, 5,000 the minimum for the dryer in the standard calculation, right? I have cooking. I have to use the bare minimum of what we sized for, okay? So again, typically one range, 8,000 VA. Because I put provisions for that. If I don't put provisions for it in there, for those two things, then guess what? They don't exist. Make sense? Again, blow the mind sound effect. I got to get to blow the mind there. People don't realize that. Okay, now, where are we at? Okay, so here we go. So we have ours. So obviously ours are over 1 3/4. So now, also, at the same time, it also remember that we can go on and do the neutral like we did before. Once we have the load we need, we can go on and do the neutral and put it to the side. Saves us an extra step since we're already here. So now let's look at what we've got here. I've got a 7 kW counter-mounted cooking unit, it's cooktop, and I got a 6 kW wall-mounted oven in this fictitious house that we're building, okay? And they're included in the calculation. Both units would fall under parameters of column B, okay? And when we say column B, let's go to the code really quick, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here is, I got to get out of, I don't know why I'm in 250. I have a, hold on, I don't know why my thing went to 250, so I got to do a, okay. All right, so let's go to 220.55. Come on, Link, don't let me down. There we go. Okay, so you see 220.55 right here. So again, when we're doing this one, by the way, I want to show you where we're at. We're right here. We're in part 3 because we're doing a standard method. We call it the standard method, but that is just the method. And then you got part 4, which is the optional method. So to make it easier, we just call this standard method. You get what I'm saying? All right, so in this case, we're right here. And let's look here. So I have a 220.55. It says, okay, so the load for a household electric range, wall-mounted ovens, counter-mounted cooking units, and other household cooking appliances individually rated in excess of 1 3/4, we already kind of discussed that, shall be permitted. I mean, this is a permissive statement, so if you want to take the full values, go for it, right? But why would you? We're always trying to make the service as small as we can. Again, it costs us money. So I realize there's diversity going on, so I don't have a problem with it. So I'm going to use this table down here, okay? And again, it reminds us that KVA is equivalent to KW for this calculation, yada, 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 okay? All right, so in our case down here, let's kind of go real quick, just kind of give a quick look at the table, as much as we can see of the table. So let me pin the heading. So in our situation here, both of them can fall under column B, okay? And this is column B because, again, it's hard to see, so let me see if I can't drag it a little bit. There we go. So because both of these cooking units fall under column B. So they are more than 3.5 kW, right? It's a 7 and a 6. And it's through 8 3/4 kW. Well, these are 6 and 7. So they fall under B, okay? Now, let me give you a little lesson really quickly in how to read this note at the top. Let me give you a little lesson in how to do this, okay? So notice that it says column C is to be used in all cases, except as otherwise permitted in note 3, okay? So let me give this little mental thing here. You are always going to look at column C or use column C, and you're going to compare it to the other columns. We call that the in lieu of effect, and you'll see that down in note 3, okay? So when we look at it, we're like, okay, I'm going to always look and see what the value is of note 3. Of column C. But I'm going to see if any of the other columns, A and B, are applicable, and I can compare the two, okay? So in this case, just want you to remember that, always remember that column C is in play. And for example, for column C, what we're looking at is, I'll go to the left real quick again. So we've got 2 appliances, and we go out to the right, we'll see that it would be 11 kW, okay? All right, so this is the maximum kW. So remember, these are percentages over here, as you see right here. And this is actual kW over here. Okay, so column C is just saying for 2 appliances, okay, they're not over 12. Neither one of them were. There's 7 and a 6. So I can use column C here, and it's 11. Is that the best answer? Well, if we come over column B, it says that we can apply 65% for 2 of them. All right? Right here. Okay, so let's come back to the lesson really quick. Okay, so here's where we're at. Since they fall in column B, it says the demand factor percentage found in that column for 2 units is 65%. So multiply the total kW, which means we would simply add what? We add the 6 and the 12 together. And I'm going to show you this in the note, by the way. And that's 13. And then we can apply the demand factor of 65% to that. Okay, and so I'm going to do that. So I have 13 times 0.65, right? And that is 8.450. You can see the math right there. I know it's hard to see on my little screen right here, but that would be the value. Okay, now that is better than 11, isn't it? Right? So this is one of the unique parts of the NEC where it's important to understand the notes. Okay, so in this case, going down to the notes so that you can see the note. And I will try to get as much of the note as I can on screen. Bear with me. So we're using notes. So somebody says note 1. Well, you're not going to use note 1 because an individual range is, again, over 12 through 27 ranges. And none of the ranges, see, it says for ranges that are individually rated more than 12. Neither one of these were. And first of all, neither one of these are a range anyway. Okay, these are cooktop and a wall-mounted oven. Okay, so we're not talking about a branch circuit here. We're doing a load calculation. Okay, so remember it says, okay, so note 3, says over 1 3/4 through 8 3/4. So aren't both of ours that? Of course they are. We had a 7 and a 6. So they fall in that range. So we can use note 3. So in lieu of, that's why it says right here, it says in lieu of the method covered in column C. So that's the fancy words. In lieu of means, look, instead of using column C, right, which is what the rule was to begin with. It says always use column C unless note 3 allows other. So instead of using column C, in lieu of using the 11 kW for the 2 appliances, I can use note 3, right? That's what that in lieu of means, right? So when you go to the in lieu of, it says, in lieu of column method C, it says adding the nameplate ratings of the household appliances, which we did. We added the 7 and the 6 together. That are more than 1 3/4, but not more than 8 3/4. That's what we did. And multiplying the sum, that's why we added the 6 and the 7 together. Multiply the sum by the demand factors in column A or column B for the given number of appliances shall be permitted. So we had 2 appliances. That's where we got the 65%. So we added the 7 and 6 together. That gave us 13. And we multiplied that by 65%. That's what they did. And now it says where the ratings of the cooking appliances fall under column A and column B, the demand factors for each column shall be applied to the appliance and then the results added together. So what that means is, because I get questions on this, say, well, what if one of the appliances was under A? What if one of the appliances were under B? Then you apply the demands for the one under A, whatever that total is. Okay, and again, the demand for 1 under column A would be 80%, and the demand for 1 under column B is 80%. So I would take the 1 and multiply by 80% and get a summation. And then I'd take the other one that falls under column B, add it together, get the summation, and then I'd take the 2 totals and I'd add them together. That's how I'd do that. But in our case, they both fell under column B, so it made it easy peasy. You get what I'm saying? Okay, that type of thing. One of the things that I will tell folks on here is people want to know what is the minimum value if I have just one range, okay? Not talking about the counter-mounted cooking, just one range or one cooking appliance, okay? So again, this table is for all cooking appliances, right? So one thing that I will tell folks is this. So if you ever get a question and it's one, and it basically, that's all it tells you, that you have one range, for example, then again, it would be 8. So if it was an exam, if it told you what is the KW for the load calculation for the service, if it said that it is a 9 KW, then you're just going to use 8. If it's a 10 KW range for your load calculation, it's still just 8 KW. If it's 11 on the calculation, then what do you put in your load calculation? You just use 8, right? Because you're allowed to pull straight from the table. The code says you're permitted to pull. As long as it's not over 12, I can pull right from the table, okay? So, as you can see here, again, if it's not over 12 and it's just one range, it can just be 8, okay? That type of thing. So, if it's 2 ranges and they're not over 12 kW ranges, then it can be 11. And so forth. So you use column C, okay? So anyway, and you can compare this, since they would be 8 kW and you have more than one, you can compare it right here with B. Because 8 kW, if that's what the range is, then it would be under 8 3/4, okay? So my point here, I guess my biggest point here for the ranges is the application to be able to say, when I can use column A, when I can use column B, when I can use column C. And you always use column C unless stated otherwise, or you're allowed to use note 3. Otherwise, you're always going to be using what? Column C. That makes sense? All right, so C should be your default unless the cooking appliances fall between over 1 3/4 and not over 8 3/4. That type of thing. Then you can start hitting some of these demand allowances. Hold on a second, let's Let's see here. Oh, let me bring you back real quick because I think I probably just said that confused you. So again, so this is where you get, so again, you're able to use, yeah, so again, yeah, I was right. So over 1 3/4, and where it's through 8 3/4, you can use column A and column B. But you would default to where? You would default to column C, right? Unless note 3 is applicable. And that is going to be where it is over 1 3/4 and not over 8 3/4. Then you'll be able to go down here and use the note. And let me get you back to the note. Here's a note 3, over 1 3/4 through 8 3/4. Anything less than, anything 1 3/4 or less, then you're basically going to be able to say, okay, well, in that scenario, you're basically in lieu of, you're not going to be using C for that application, okay? All right, where are we at here? Okay, so let's see. Let's get back to our lesson here. Okay, so in our lesson, we're going to use the 8.45 because that is better yielding. That yields better results than what column C yielded for us in this calculation. Okay, that makes sense? All right, let's see here. Do we have anything we want to feed the hog? Thanks, Adam. Thanks for joining today on today's stream. So let's see here. Do we have anything we want to feed the hog? Oh, yeah, we want to let's go to Nika and see what Nika has to say. Okay. So let's see here. We've got this question right here. Can a 5 kW storage system ESS with a maximum output of 20.83 supply a 200 amp service or dwelling? Well, the answer to that obviously is no, it would not supply the service. Okay, because it only has a maximum output of 5,000 watt. So let's see. So let's copy this and see what the hog has to say. All right, so let's put this in the hog. And let's see here. Let's see what the hog has to say on that very broad question. If you got any questions you want to ask the hog, put them in the comments. I'm more than happy to pump it in there. Okay. It says to determine if a 5 kW energy, 5 kilowatts per hour energy storage system ESS has the maximum output of 20.83 amps can supply a 200 amp service of a dwelling. When the normal power is lost, we need to consider the capacity and limitations of the ESS. All right, so the ESS has a maximum output of 20.83 amps. This means that at most it can supply 20.83 amps to the dwelling electrical system. A 200 amp service implies that the dwelling electrical system is designed to handle up to 200 amps under normal conditions. The ESS, therefore, cannot supply the full capacity of the 200 amp service. I guess we all figured that one, right? It can only supply a fraction of the total load, specifically up to 20.83 amps. So the conductor sizing, it says the conductors from the ESS are 10 THHN according to 2023 NEC and table 31016. Again, it's good for 35 amps under the 75-degree column, assuming that all your lugs and terminations and everything are rated 75. This means the conductors are adequate sized for the 20.83 output of the ESS. Again, now, if you have load management systems, so while the ESS cannot supply the full 200 amp load, it still can be used to power essential loads during a power outage. Load management strategies, such as using a transfer switch or load shedding system, would be necessary to ensure that only the critical loads are provided by the ESS. Code compliance, again, the hog is going to remind you to look at 706 dealing with ESS systems. Or energy storage systems. This includes requirements for any disconnecting means, overcurrent protection and grounding. And at this point, you could ask the hog to give you more details on any of this stuff if you wanted. That's how the hog works, guys. It brings you back the information generically and then allows you to dig deeper if you want to. That's the beautiful thing about it. Now, in summary, while an ESS cannot supply the full 200 amp, obviously that's a no-brainer. It can provide power to essential loads up to the maximum output of 20.83 amps. Proper load management and compliance with NEC requirements are essential to safe and effective operation. Means load shedding, management, switching capabilities, making sure, just like a generator scenario, you're not going to overload the generator. You're going to make sure that you're adequately sizing for this transfer, that type of thing. And you're probably going to use some type of load management system in order to achieve this, which means that you're going to have calculated your loads out and knowing what you're dealing with, that type of thing. Okay. All right, let's do some spins and let's get a couple more giveaways here. So we added to our list of the household of what we're doing. So we had 8,450 if you're following along and you're taking notes. That is our cooking contribution. Wait a minute. I didn't pick anybody yet. Okay. Sorry, we kind of did that backwards. I gotta pick somebody first. Sorry about that. Brain fart this early in the morning. Whoop, whoop. Now tomorrow we're gonna do heating versus air conditioning. Okay. And then we'll do the overall load for that dwelling. You know what I'm saying? I know I forgot to pick a name. All right. Okay. Wow, that's a long name. Let's see here. Wow. Sorry. I'm gonna abbreviate it here. That's a heck of a name. All right. Let's see what you won, my friend. That's a long name. I know daggone well you got a nickname that you go by. Don't nobody call you that long name. I'm just saying. You gotta have a nickname. All right, you're in the drawing for the voltage drop card. Oh, by the way, hold on, guys. Bear with me. I'm sorry. I don't usually leave the scene. I forgot. I don't usually leave my show like that, but just so I could show you what you're in the drawing for, this is your voltage drop card. Okay, and on the back, we show you how to figure out the actual K. Not that you need it, but we show you anyway. These are thick and they're really great. And we also have the conductor length card. These are pretty neat to have on you because this can tell you how much wire you have left on a reel. It adjusts for the different temperatures and all that. So that's just an example of cards that you could win as well. And so these are hard cards. They're not the little cheapy things. Okay. All right. So you're in for that. Let's go on and do another person, give away something else. I love giveaways. So you're in the drawing for that. Okay, so the drawing is on March 31st, okay? And we'll do a show with all the winners, so you'll see your name and everything like that. All right, Van Man, let's see what you have won or then drawing for. Notice the wheel is getting a lot smaller. Try to do a different wheel so you can see everything. I know you can't see everything because it's so small. I get it. All right, Van Man, let's see what you got here. All right, Van, you won 12 months of Fast Tracks Tube. That is, all you got to do is go over to Fast Tracks Tube, and I will show you what that is. All you got to do is right here, go to fasttrackstube.com. All you got to do is go up here to where it says Member Plan. Click on Member Plan. Come down here and choose the free membership option. Fill out all your information down here. Pick your password, pick your username and whatnot, and send it to us. And we will elevate you to the annual membership. Okay, that's all you got to do. All right, let's see here. Let's pick another one real quick. Oh, wrong one there. Let's pick a name. Let's do them at the same time. Listen to that confusion. Listen to all that confusion. Static Electric. It's a mission. It's noise from Mars. Alberto, what'd you win, Alberto? You also get a year's worth of Fast Tracks too, dude. I'm giving away. That's a lot of free subscriptions. All right, that's okay. I love giving it away. Fast Tracks Tube, you just saw my instructions on how to go do that. Reach out to us after you do it. That way to make sure that we elevate you. We will double check it and make sure that Darlene will make sure that all gets done. Okay. All right. Again, unless we have something that we want to feed into the tube, into the hog. If you haven't played with the hog, do me a favor, guys. Go play with it. Test it out. Put some stuff in there. Try to break it. Ask it questions. Dig deeper into questions. You are limited in the number of questions you can ask before it'll ask you if you want to do a subscription. Anybody that subscribes, I recommend the basic one. It's probably more than you'll need. 25 requests an hour. That means 25 perpetual questions in an hour, or you could do separate questions in an hour. That's probably the most popular. Very few people are getting the premium, which is great because it increases the number. But the best one is obviously the basic plan. For those that are interested in that. For those that want an expert in your pocket, ask questions while you're in the field. Much more intuitive than normal ChatGTP. It's focused on codes. It's focused on bringing code-specific results. And we keep feeding it with new information, that type of thing. Okay? All right. So tomorrow's show, let me make sure that I get this. So tomorrow's show, we will be going over heating and air conditioning, the last step, putting all the pieces together. And then we will go on and size this service for this dwelling that we're working on. And as I told you, by the way, before I leave, hold on, back to the lesson. Remember what I said about the neutral? At the same time, you can always be writing the neutral value out. Okay, well, in 220.61b, again, the neutral portion of this, it allows us to do 70%, okay, of the value that we calculated. So if it is 8,450, then that's our ungrounded conductor. That's for our total load, right? But the neutral, you're going to write it out to the side. That's going to be 8,450 times 0.70. Okay, so let's see, 8,450 times 0.70. Okay, 59.15. So you're going to write that to the side. That is your neutral contribution. And that can be running concurrent with when we're doing all this other conductor calculations, right? So make sure that you get that neutral. While you're there, you might as well add the neutral because you might as well start sizing the neutral while you're there. Just makes sense, right? To do it all while you're there, okay? And you get the permission to add the additional demand of 70% in 220.61b. That's where you get that permission to do it for sizing the neutral. And remember, the neutral is under part 3, so that's why we're learning the standard method, not only to do the load calculation and for exams, but also we got to use the standard to size the neutral as well. That type of thing. Okay. All right. I want to make sure I didn't forget that because again, that's kind of like those little things that I add all the time. So, all right, folks, everybody have a great week. The rest of your week. Friday's tomorrow. We're at the end of the week. Okay. We'll also be Beatbox Friday rather than look at this. Hey, nobody, what are you talking about, beatbox? I don't know anything about that. All right, anyway, we will catch you on Friday, folks. Appreciate you. Take care. God bless. And please come back and share it with your friends. Okay? All right, everybody, have a safe one.